Hey, what's up? Sorry, my hair's a little crazy. They put some like hair thing in it, and I got a lot of it, so that's how it is. And I'm wearing the same hoodie that I always wear because I like wearing the hoodie, and it gets cold, so I wear it. But I honestly, I picked up this camera. Don't even know what topic to do, but I'm gonna talk about being alone in your 20s. Why not? Popped in the head. I was like, oh yeah. So one of the things that I've kind of realized through I'm only 23, I think, is that being alone is not easy. But I mean, obviously, I never quite been not alone in that aspect or in whatever aspect you think. But I'm gonna focus in on like relationship wise and stuff like that, even though I got no experience. But yeah, it's one of those valuable things where okay, obviously there are people that if you find like the one and all stuff, and you're showing it's not like, oh, you have to be alone. But I know enough people and I've watched enough TikTok and I've watched enough just videos of all kind to realize that there are a lot of people out there that are lonely and alone. And there's a big difference between lonely and alone. And I've even seen stuff about that. But lonely is one of those things where almost like it's like you're craving and it's like even though you're by yourself, you're kind of almost trying to do things to make it so that you don't even feel that you're by yourself versus alone is being okay with being who you are, being by yourself, etc. And for me, it's been super tough to do that at certain points because of the fact it's super tough to not feel lonely because there's aspects of my life that I'm kind of just, I mean, damn, I drank one of the protein shake things and went down wrong, whatever. But it's kind of tough to not feel lonely when there's aspects of myself that I've kind of lost throughout the process of my life last few years. So I almost like feel incomplete without having that person versus just being at like level and wanting something that I haven't had. Like it's like losing something that I've had kind of puts me in this place where where I have less than I normally do. So it's almost like whatever. But even then, it's been important, and I've had to realize that I need to be okay by myself. I need to be okay. And what that doesn't mean is, okay, I'm going to shell myself up, not do things, and not like go out there and not make the effort to hang out or go to this thing, do that thing, especially things that make me uncomfortable. It's important to do things that make you uncomfortable. But there has to be time where you're alone. And no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, obviously there's a lot of people that have like freaking 15 kids and wife, and so like whatever. And they'll probably tell you, it's really important to have that alone time, no matter who you are. Some may have it a lot more than others. Some may have it just all the time. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in rough situations that could be living solo dolo, just grinding at work, doing whatever, and they're pretty much by themselves the entire time, and it gets really tough. And so that's where there's almost like I was gonna say spectrum. Spectrum is a little interesting in this context, but there's there's levels to this stuff where you don't want to isolate yourself, but you don't want to be too much into the camp of I need to be around people 24/7. And when you're by yourself, you're messaging people, you're FaceTime, you're doing that stuff. Nothing inherently wrong with doing that, but you also have to have that alone time, especially when you're younger and stuff like that. Say you get used to it, because a lot of times people will drown themselves out to where they are so dependent on it in their 20s that they become dependent on the 30s, 40s, 50s, and you see people older people like desperately going from relationship to relationship or friendship to friendship or doing all these things that ultimately lead nowhere because they're so dependent on not being alone. It's important to establish that I'm okay by myself, I'm okay with who I am before you kind of grow up and get older, because it's going to almost get tougher to have those opportunities. Like I feel like when you're younger, you have more opportunities to discover yourself or be like understand, okay, who am I, what do I like to do? Okay, when I'm by myself at my like peers, what is it that I would like to do? What is it that I want to do when I'm bored? Like what are the things that kind of inspire me, that keep me going? What are those things? Not necessarily dependent on any other people. All the things always are, like there's always some connection. Like you're like, oh, I like to do this because this person. But what are the things that you really like to do? Understand that is so important, and you can't really understand that stuff if you're not necessarily bored. Like you can't really find the stuff you really want to do the most until you're like that. I mean, I guess I was saying that, I was like, okay, but people find like, oh, I love playing football or I love music, and they do it for the rest of their life. But I feel like if you don't feel like you found it, you can't really find it if you don't have those moments. Like it's not like it's just gonna pop up out of thin air. It just much like how on the flip side, it's not like you're gonna find a girlfriend, find a boyfriend, finding that stuff by just being by yourself all the time. Like you need to do the thing in order to have that. But you also need to do the other thing to find that. Like there's this duality in life, and one of those things that I myself have been guilty of is not doing the other thing. I've spent probably way too much time alone. That's why I have a few different YouTube channels with like hundreds of videos on it. Not necessarily it's bad to make YouTube videos, but I've probably done too much. And at certain points, I've been like, you know what, I should do this or I should do that. And it's kind of come into play. This hair going on is just fucking. But it's kind of come into play lately that I'm like, you know what, I should be doing stuff. And not even just like, okay, my friends are pushing me or feeling. I need to willingly do stuff, or like do that thing. Just like how a lot of times I need to willingly detach and be by myself. And by myself, I don't even necessarily mean like on a phone I mean just solo, like by yourself. I mean, you could be on your phone, you could be listening to music, stuff like that, but having those moments where you're by yourself and you're not in contact, you're not talking to people, you're not doing this and that, it's kind of like nutrition for the soul. It's like having like veggies and stuff like that. Like it's something that obviously you don't want it. You'd rather have like a chicken nugget or something like that, or like a fry or whatever the heck than a veggie. But you need the veggie because the veggie is healthy, and veggie is ultimately the thing you need the most. So out of all that, I mean, obviously you need protein stuff, but veggies, like you get what I'm saying. So I think when it comes to being alone, there's this fear of doing it. There's this fear of not just being by yourself, but being by yourself without that like thing. Like a lot of like whether it's like, I mean, for me, like it's so easy to get like locked in like TikTok or Instagram or do a lot of stuff when I'm by myself. So I'm not really by myself. I'm kind of just doing stuff and kind of like putting myself in other people's lives. So you don't really have that time naturally to process what you're going through and what you kind of need that. One of the main reasons why I made this video is being alone allows you to process life and to kind of go through and understand what's happening to you and kind of feel through it and kind of whatever. And a lot of times when you're around people or you're doing things, like you're like watching stuff, doing whatever, stuff like that, you're kind of putting yourself in other circumstances and you're not really quite living your life. You're not living it out. You're not really kind of experiencing it to the fullest. You're not quite like growing, and you can't really grow and do all that stuff when you're so consumed with other stuff that's going on. That's why a lot of times it's important to have friends, but it's also important to have time where you're by yourself, have time where you're whatever, so you have your own identity. You don't want your identity to be other people. You need your own identity. You need to be your own person. This same thing applies with relationships. The best relationships, I feel like, have the best relationships involve people having their own thing going, having themselves focus on one thing. Okay, she's focused on one thing, he's focused on one thing. They're having two people focus on one thing usually is the best case scenario, because when one person is focused on one thing, another person has nothing going on, and that person's like kind of whatever, it usually f's thing up. Vice versa. You get what I'm saying, and it's one of the reasons why being alone is important, because you find that thing. When you find that thing, you find the stuff that you're passionate about. You find whatever. Or you just learn and grow, or you just learn about yourself. It just allows you to be a better person, I feel like, because the more you understand yourself, the better you're able to be a better person for the people around you. Like when you're so disjointed and don't like whatever, and you have all this stuff going on, it's really tough to be your best self because you're so focused on what's going on. That's why you need the time to kind of focus on yourself and to figure stuff out, to be alone, to be in those moments where you're kind of like going through and being like, okay, why do I feel this way? Or what, this happened at work, or this happened at school, like it's causing me to feel this way. Like it allows you to kind of like process. I really don't think there's a lot of processing nowadays. I don't, and this is not just Gen Z or like like the kids. I think it's from like 0 to 100. I think a lot of people do not like to process stuff. I think a lot of people do not like to go through and actively like whatever with life. They kind of just like to almost fast forward through those kind of moments or whatever. A lot of times for a lot of people it's uncomfortable. I trust me, it's a very one of the most uncomfortable feelings is being bored. I swear, like obviously there's uncomfortable feelings like being on stage or doing whatever, but being bored, I mean there's a good chance you could ask anyone, they're like, and they would be like, I don't know, I'm not that big a fan of being bored. Like being bored is not necessarily like it's not a gold medal winning of things that people feel. I wouldn't say that. And yet it's one of those things that is like is something that we all, I feel like, gotta learn. I gotta like learn to love, because the more you learn to love it, the more you see the value of having it and the value of going through what happened in a day or what happened in the week or what happened with this person, that person. Oh, why am I feeling this way, or why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why do I not quite feel right in this situation or whatever? it doesn't answer your questions, but it just kind of gives you more peace, or it gives you more clarity on life when you're able to have those moments versus just being absorbed into other stuff. Because when you're absorbed into other stuff, how do you like center yourself, and how do you understand who you are? It's like you can't quite be full of yourself when you're kind of like stretching yourself thin in so many different aspects. Because I wouldn't say necessarily it's bad to like watch videos or hang out with friends. Obviously, it's not to hang out with friends or relationship and all that stuff. But it also is important to have have the time where you're by yourself, have the time where you're kind of going through and maybe just listening to music, maybe writing, maybe hanging out, maybe just watching TV. I mean, obviously, like you don't want to like whatever. You still need to have the time where you're like whatever, but it's important to have that, and it doesn't have to be like you have to sit there for 2 hours doing nothing. You don't have to you don't have to raw dog life for 2 hours, but just when it like usually there's that gut instinct. You're like I should probably just sit and chill. I probably shouldn't be doing this. Or I'm spending too long doing this. Or I should just listen to that kind of stuff and really just try kind of like go through what is happening in life and kind of just see what's going on, and so you can better understand yourself and what's the best way to do life and all that stuff. And there's maybe a whole bunch of random stuff at once, but I hope you liked it. Hope you're having a great day. Subscribe, like if you want, and I love you guys. Bye.